talk about Dumbing Us Down, the Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling by John Taylor Gatto. The book was first published in 1992 in Canada by New Society Publishers. It's basically a collection of speeches made by Gatto. It has 6 chapters and 147 pages, depending on which edition you're reading. The way I read this book was in the form of an audiobook and as an ebook. Let's talk about the author. Gatto died in 2018 at the age of 82. He was an educator, a teacher in the state of New York for almost 30 years, having won multiple awards such as New York's Teacher of the Year Award, locally and at a state level. He was a proponent of homeschooling, unschooling, and open source learning. He's the kind of person that makes you think and think hard. Once you find out about him, once you start listening to him, you can't ignore him. And you find yourself going back to him again and again, wanting to know more. The one thing that made this book very credible for me was because Gatto shares his own experiences again and again. He knows the behind-the-scenes drama and he shares it with us, with the reader. Why did I choose this book? Well, if, like me, you are a homeschooling family and you've done some sort of research regarding homeschooling, this name, Dumbing Us Down, and the author's name, John Gatto, is going to pop up again and again. It's almost as if this book comes with the homeschooling starter pack. This book helps you to understand the why behind homeschooling and unschooling. In fact, it gives you the why. It gives you the reason to homeschool or unschool. You know, before having read this book, I never thought to question the current schooling system, right? I didn't even know there were alternatives. I thought this was it, right? After all, I was part of the schooling system, right? And I turned out okay. I think so. I never thought to question these experts. You know, I never thought about why these so-called experts were so concerned about me, a total stranger. What does he want us to know? Basically, the first thing Gatto does is he gives the reader permission because, as we know, we have been so accustomed to asking for permission for every single thing, even the way we think, right? So he gives the reader permission that, hey, you can actually think for yourself. In fact, I encourage you to think critically and question everything that you have known so far, right? He makes us question and find out about the history of schooling. He reminds us that we have to know why we do stuff, right? Why we follow any trend or any system. And he goes in very great length describing the actual history of the system we have today. Also, he gives us a lot of clarity about what not to do, right? And which to me always seems like a good start, right? When you know what not to do, that's a great beginning to find out what you need to do in any situation, not just about schooling. And the most interesting thing that he tells the reader is that the current schooling system does not need a reform. In fact, it does have a curriculum. It has a national curriculum, which it is following to the T, right? It is carrying out its purpose exactly the way it was designed. And what does he want? He wants us to reclaim our learning, to take hold of our learning and have total control over it. He reminds the reader that schooling, the modern schooling system, is nothing more than a 12-year jail sentence. Something that sentence just, stayed with me, right? Continues to stay with me when I think about it. He wants us to take learning and family and communities and combine it all together. In fact, he wants us to learn starting at a family level and then be active learners and participants in our communities. So, should you read this book? Well, a few friends of mine, casually stated that, hey, I don't have any kids. I don't need to know about homeschooling. It really doesn't relate to me. But my answer to them was, if you were educated in this modern educational system, right? If you were sent to any sort of institution to quote unquote learn, whether it was private schools or public schools or charter schools, etc., you have to read this book. It is completely relevant to you. In fact, I would make it mandatory for every single person to read this book, to know where we came from, why we are the way we are today, right? And the words of the great Maya Angelou, you can't really know where you are going until you know where you have been. So absolutely, I really, really encourage everybody to read the book, or at least read some reviews on the book, including mine, and check out John Gatto's YouTube channel. There's a load of information, of good information on there that, trust me, every single soul can benefit from. That's a wrap. Have fun reading, guys.